Welcome to Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, today we're going to be making a metal storage bin or metal storage cart, whatever you want to call it. My current situation is I've got a cardboard box that I've been using to throw my miscellaneous drops into, which I use for practice welding, or when I get people that come over here to the shop and they want to do some welding. It's nice to have some scrap metal to do so. But the box is about 18 inches square, 12 inches tall. It's just a regular cardboard box, and it's down there underneath my plasma table. Not a good location, you know. It's getting full of material, and with water around the table and fire and flame, it's just not a good scenario. And the box is starting to swell. It's starting to one step from just coming apart. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to make us a metal, or I guess in this case, aluminum metal storage container on wheels. I was at my local metal supply store and happened to see in the surplus section this piece of 1/4 inch thick by 12 inch wide by about 10 foot long piece of aluminum flat bar stock or flat plate, whatever you want to call it. And so I had them sheared up to the dimensions I need. I also purchased a piece of aluminum 1/4 inch thick, 24 inches and 24 inches, and that's going to be for the bottom. I also got a piece of 2 inch angle iron, 1/8 of an inch thick. And then I found these metal casters at my big box store. They're small, but they're metal. They're 360-degree swivel. I think it's going to be perfect. These things were $3.50. So with everything all included, I might have about $50 in this project. I think it's going to be a great little build. It's going to be an aluminum box. We're going to make an angle iron metal tray for the bottom of it. This will give us another chance to practice our aluminum MIG welding with the ProPulse 300. So let's get started on today's video. Alright, so the first thing I did is grab the 2 inch angle iron here and cut the pieces I needed to length, which is going to be about 25.5 inches. Those are the lengths I cut. The material is 24 inches plus the thickness, a 1/4 each side. Made it 25 inches plus I gave a 1/2 inch all the way around. So hopefully that's going to work out pretty good. You know, when I cut these things, a lot of times I just 45 the corners, and that works out really good sometimes. But a lot of times I like to notch them, and that's the case I'm doing right here. You know, both work really well. I just like doing the notching every once in a while, and that's what I chose to do here. You can see it works out really well on the porta band. Just cut the corners out right here once they're marked, and it goes together nice and square right out of the chute. Sometimes when you miter the corners, that they're not perfectly square, and you got to do some trimming. But this right out of the chute is perfect every time. You can just see, just lay them right in there, and it's almost square just looking at it. But I can't rely on that, so I grabbed the fireball squares and got those into place, and that absolutely perfectly squares things up. You know, I sometimes don't trust that. It's so perfect that it can't be square, and at least that's in my mind, but I've always got to double check, and there it is. I'm checking, and it's perfectly square, absolutely. So I just went around and put several tacks on all 4 corners right here, and just to bring everything together, so I wouldn't have any problems with it when I was welding it all out. Took everything out, double checked for square, and it was. And so now we're just going to go ahead and just finish it out. Now I'm not doing too much welding on the inside, very little bit, because I know I got to get in there and do a little bit of grinding on the flat surface, and I did put a little something there on the inside flat. It is the outside, is when I went ahead and just finished everything up. Now, knowing I'm going to grind everything down, I'm not really worried about looking real pretty, but this is where it all comes together right here, using some fixture squares on the welding table, and just went around with the angle grinder and just cleaned up all these welds. Then went over to the Burger King, and these casters had a little zinc plating on them, and I just wanted to take off that zinc plating so the welds would go on there pretty good. And I'm not too concerned about welding it all the way around. I just put, little tacks all the way around these casters, and just like that, this part of the job is complete. All right, so I've got my frame and casters all assembled here, and I'm going to set this aside right now, and I'm going to use the flat welding table to start assembling the aluminum box with the fab block squares and fixture clamps. Let's get started. All right, so now it's down to the business deal here. This is the aluminum, and you can see I've got my fab block squares, and I'm clamping everything to the welding table, getting everything nice and square. Again, it's a perfect setup, and I'm just double checking for plumb, and everything is absolutely plumb. It's been a great way to go here. Something like this back in the day, I would be trying to hold it up square, and I'll bang around everything into place. I just started out on the inside, and this is an inside T-joint, and I've got my settings on this particular at about 460 inches a minute and about 22 volts here. It seemed to work very good for the inside T-joints. We get around to the outside right here, though, and this is where I make a volt change and a wire feed speed change. I get the wire feed speed down to about 360 inches a minute, and crank the volts down just a little bit. So I just dropped the last panel into place, and it just fell right in there perfectly. And I just wanted to secure it and get everything nice and secure so it does not going to go anywhere. And just tack that last panel into place, and just like that, we've got a nice box to work with. All right, so I decided I'm going to try all processes here with this aluminum MIG to try to get a little bit more experience. And you can see I was vertical up and vertical down. More about vertical down a little bit later. And this is the horizontal position here. And then this is the flat position. They all seem to work really well. I had no issues with it. And I got to say, this has been a little over 12 feet of welding continuous with the ProPulse 300. Never had a hiccup once. Everything went in there nice and smooth. I've done this in the past a little bit with a little bit of experience, and I've had a little bit of issues, but I believe it's all about in the settings. And as long as you get the settings just right when you're welding, MIG welding aluminum especially, with the right thickness of material, everything goes well. Well, here's the horizontal position weld right here. You can see it's just not perfect, but hey, for a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, that went in there pretty good and pretty clean. And then this is the flat position right here. Pretty much the same results you see right here. Went in nice and smooth, no issues at all. If I would have taken my time, everything would have looked a lot better. And this is vertical up. Again, all of them look very similar. All went in very smooth. And then this is the vertical down. Now, I did a little bit of research with this after the fact and found out that this is not the position that this is good for aluminum MIG, is vertical downhill. There's a lot of peppering going on right there. Although the weld seemed to go in, but you could just see it just was not as clean as the other position. So one thing I learned is no aluminum vertical downhill MIG welding. All in all, the box is done and complete, and there it is. It dropped right in the frame perfectly, and this is going to work out really good for what I need it to. And I'm just going to slide it into place right here, get rid of the old box, and just transfer the material over. You can see that that worked out really good, and that box is done. I'll be glad to get rid of that. And one more last final touch, got to get a Jimbo's Garage sticker on there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my website to get your torch lead holders, some stickers, some swag. Follow us on Instagram. Check us out on Facebook. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.